Pars on?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just setting timer. So whenever you're ready, I guess all dark. Jenny went down to eat dinner, so.
Lights off.
Yep, lights off.
Got it?
Yeah.
Doing it?
Yeah, I'll do it. Including your
Yeah, the
suction
bucket,
sampler light.
bucket.
Yeah, bucket light. Do 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 do.
The LED light, that's what you're talking about? That one's off?
Yeah, the one that we forgot before.
Sweet.
Where's the bucket light?
Cameras.
Camera, bucket light. Bucket is off, right?
Off.
Yeah.
Yep.
All dark?
Yes.
We don't see Orion up there anymore.
Okay, starting now.
SPL check, 1, 2.
I wonder if, no, never mind. I was gonna say, I wonder if a Tino 4 went by, if we'd be able to see it, because they kind of like shine, but they shine based on the reflection you provide, so never mind. Yeah, biolume, yeah. Mike was saying the res is low. So I've been keeping it up on bubble. It was like floating between 5 and 6.
The rack lights on again.
You notice the most, right? Because of your position, you're like looking into it.
All right. I'm looking what some of the viewers are asking, and for those of you who have been on more dives, do any of you have a story of when an animal has attacked or maybe come really close to the ROV? Any fun stories about anything like that?
Bob chased a tiger shark pretty good one day.
Really?
Yeah. He was like, "Come here!" And zooming after him. It was perfect. We were oriented in the perfect way to have enough leash to do that.
Really?
Yeah.
Where was that? Was that last year in the Pacific?
That was last year. That was the Pacific. It was the last cruise of the season. Where was it? No, not Pacific. Where was I? Where were we?
That must have been over
It
here.
was in San Pedro.
In San Pedro?
Yeah,
What?
last year, yeah.
No.
Yeah, because I quarantined in San Pedro last year, so it was last year.
You mean it was out of San Pedro, not in
Yeah.
San Pedro.
Yeah, it was actually like
Well,
in
yeah,
your
but-
fish tank at home.
We didn't go that far.
Tammy is the champion of the team. Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you. Oh, Tim, yeah, Tim has full reign of the lights.
We also saw a really cool, it was like a squid type, but it looked like a sea pen.
Really?
But it wasn't. It was like a fancy squid.
That like
Got
could
it.
close up to be
Yes,
really
he,
narrow.
Well, he did like a little, "Hey, buddy," and like put his paws up,
Oh.
and then got real close to HD camera, and then met a
Fun.
thruster on his way out.
No, you didn't have to tell that part of the
That's the truth.
story, Kylie.
I know, but it's, for the horror story folks out there.
What about you, Bob?
We've had a big octopus latch onto the arm and not let go.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder how strong, I mean, I don't know, no match for the arm.
Yeah, no match for the
But,
dog.
but I wonder how strong, like, different octopuses their arms are.
I think you would not like it if you were scuba diving.
Yeah, probably not, right?
Should have little octopus arm wrestling matches.
Mm.
Yeah.
Fun fact about an octopus, actually, they obviously they taste and everything with their suckers, so that's how they learn to recognize. And they develop through that a sense of like sight with what tastes. So like in aquariums and everything, they develop a likeness to certain people and a dislikeness to others. And so only certain people they'll allow, like they'll crave that like attention to like essentially like a hug and everything, and others they may not like, they'll siphon up water and squirt it at them.
But so like in addition to being able to see, they're also like, my sucker sense that I don't like you.
Yeah. Yeah, so they will develop a likeness or dislikeness, and as well as their tempers and personalities can be very much so like a human's as well as they go through the different stages of their life.
Yeah.
Tammy,
Cephalopods are so intelligent.
Yes.
have you read A Soul of an Octopus?
Yes.
Soul of an Octopus.
Sure did. I love that book.
It's a great book.
Yeah, the octopus in that book got a real likeness for Cy Montgomery, the writer of the book.
Does this have anything? I haven't watched this movie, My Octopus Teacher,
It's
but everyone's
very good.
telling
Yes.
me to watch that.
Very good.
Yes, put it on your watch list.
I feel like
for
that's
sure.
like a good ship movie that we should, you know, watch
Yeah.
on
lounge.
board.
Yeah.
Lounge day.
That and maybe The Abyss. I love that movie.
The Abyss.
How do
Actually,
we-
someone just
how did we
mentioned The
get there
Abyss
from,
in the chat.
Oh, yeah, see, it's such, and I only saw it like 2 years ago. I was telling Annie, I said, if I had seen that when I was a kid, I would have known then what I was going to do with the rest of my life. I was watching it like 2 inches from my laptop screen, like, what? This is in a movie? It's incredible. It's so cool.
I just wanted to be a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
There's still time.
Gotta practice my sweet nunchuck skills.
Walk around with a backpack on. Just get the feel for it.
I do have a crochet hat, stocking cap that my mom made for me that actually folds down into the orange band for Michelangelo to cover your eyes.
That's so
And then it has a
cool.
little thing, and then you could fold it up and tuck it all in so it just looks like a normal hat as well.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was in my 30s probably when she made it for me.
My mom's love. Love never dies.
I think she found it as a challenge, and she was like, challenge accepted, I'll get that.
Someone asked a little while ago if they'll be able to see everything the data logger is typing, because that helped with their understanding in the past. And the answer is yes, on nautiluslive.org. And I'm the data logger. So anything that I'm typing and that anyone else in the data logger seat types comes up under the latest observations on nautiluslive.org for the dive on the main page.
Welcome back, Megan. We were just discussing octopus.
Yeah.
and You
We
and
were.
I and Tammy come from a region that is flush with giant Pacific octopus.
It sure is. Yeah, I actually scuba diving in up in Oregon. I've seen giant Pacific octopus.
How
And they
giant?
can
What's the
grow to
scale?
be 50 to 60 pounds, up to 100 pounds, and have a arm span or tentacle span of about 15 feet.
Yeah, yeah,
And the head is, the mantle part is quite large.
yeah.
And the eyes are almost always about the same size as the uppermost suckers.
Mm.
And
Oh yeah, you dive for
Palm
Yeah.
size, something like that.
they live about 4 years, and at the end of their life, the females mate and then brood on their eggs, using their body to oxygenate the eggs by moving water across them
Yeah,
in a
wow.
den. And then when the eggs hatch, the female dies, and the eggs go on to repeat the cycle.
The circle of life.
No.
Live
Don't
fast,
like.
die young. Yep. And
And
huge.
they can
Die young
actually
and large.
they can actually lay like false eggs,
Mm-hmm.
and they will sit there, and obviously they'll never hatch, but they'll sit there and maintain them as long as they can until they starve themselves completely, because they won't leave to get food or anything, so they can starve themselves completely until they just die.
Someone asked what a PAR is and why it requires darkness. The PAR stands for photosynthetically active radiation, and so the PAR is sensing the light, and Jenny just got on. So Jenny, would you mind telling us why we're interested in sensing the light on this dive?
Sure. Well, we know that some of the organisms that we're studying here at this site harbor chloroplasts, and so we're not quite certain what the function of those are, and so we're trying to address that in a number of ways. And one piece of information that we would like to know is, are there photons of light that are available at the seafloor? And those could come from, you know, bioluminescence even, maybe sunlight, but in such a high productivity water body like Santa Barbara Basin, it's really hard to imagine that light reaches the bottom where we're working, but who knows?
Which makes it super weird that they have chloroplasts.
Yeah, it does. It's something that has puzzled Joan for
Yeah.
a long time, so she's been trying to dig into it.
Yeah, I knew nothing about this chloroplast conundrum before, so I'm looking forward to seeing
Yeah,
how we get one step further with this.
right. We'll see what we learn.
We have time check 3.5 minutes left of PAR sensing.
So do we know what we're going to do?
Yeah, so Rennie ran down to talk to Chris, who's the person he's downstairs, interested in us collecting some just Norbit data while we're roving around. And I think Rennie will, or whenever I get off, I can check on what the status of that is.
Can
Well,
you
we turn
can you
our lights
explain
on,
what
I'll do
Norbit
a-
data?
Yeah,
I'll do a gauge check.
Norbit. Sorry, you talking?
Sorry, I was talking to Bob. When we turn the lights on, I'll do a gauge check before we go anywhere, do anything.
There's Chris coming in right now. So Norbit's a multi-beam that's mounted on Hercules. And Chris can talk a little bit more about what he's doing with that data right now. Hey, K2, can you come talk about the Norbit in a second when you're ready?
Yeah. Okay.
Over here.
We're almost done with the PAR, and they're going to do some work with their Norbit, their sonar, just some tests.
So
Till it's
Norbit,
time
you want
to go do a second PAR and then pick up the course. Yeah.
Robert, you're doing great.
That must be the land.
So you should be
Over on the left.
7:30.
Yeah. So that's who's on head number 1? Is that Herc or Argus? That's Herc, right?
All right, K2, what is the Norbit?
That's Argus.
And what do you want us to rove around for?
Yeah.
Oh, am I on? Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm on.
Sure.
Yeah, the Norbit is a high-resolution mapping sonar. So I'm working on a new navigation system so we can use the sonar to make better maps. And I need to collect a little testing data set so I can tune and debug the navigation system.
Perfect. And sitting in one spot coring hasn't been
It's about 50 meters from us.
the right kind of data.
Does that make
Ooh,
sense?
Yep.
at that.
And so
Yeah,
that
pulled up.
is looking
All right, 30
north,
seconds
is always up on
left.
her.
For the viewer who wrote in
North
looking
is
for book
looking-
recommendations
looking
for
off of north.
people interested in this kind of work, I would
And
actually,
it's facing.
if you just search book
Yeah.
on Nautilus Live in the search
Heading
bar
up.
there, we actually have a staff compiled list of recommended reading that are some
Did you
favorite titles that
steal
people have
capture?
put together
So
over the years from
Did you
the
take capture?
conversation.
I think it's backwards.
Oh, I wonder if my 2 recommendations are in
But
You could
you know better than
totally.
I do.
Oh, it just like
Could
disappeared.
totally add
Wow.
them if they're not there.
What's up?
Good to know.
Hey, me. What?
All right,
No.
so that is 15 minutes.
Did we mark that
Yep.
point? Thanks.
Okay, so that's been marked.
Lights can go back on.
Lights. Lights, let there be light.
We're still
Ooh.
here.
Yes, we are. Haven't floated away.
Porch. Camera. Where's Argus lights?
Have to give a special shout out to one book by Dr. Upper
Fun
Valley,
stuff.
new on shelves now.
Can't read that.
What's
Into the
that
deep.
book?
Yeah. A memoir from the man who found the
Um,
Titanic.
K2, what is your goal? Where do you want to go?
So first of all, let me open up my thing here. Yeah, so the first thing we want to do is start recording. There we go. So I'm going to do a couple abrupt motions. So I guess the first one, we might as well just go straight up quickly,
Okay.
and then we'll go straight forward quickly, and then each direction.
And Annie, just
How far up we're going?
Doesn't matter. Just a couple meters is fine.
Okay. You
we
ready
don't want to
for
get
that?
closer to those incubation cores.
No, I think we're just going up in altitude right now.
Sweet.
Where are
Right,
the-
yeah. We're 116 meters from the course right now, or the Arguses. So how far do we want, what's our buffer? I thought we'd stay well
What's a
without,
good buffer, Jane?
Without
I
a
think
50
we should
meters?
stay at least 50 meters away.
okay. Yeah, we'll have to move the ship if we want to get that close. We should be good.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Going up.
You
And
want me to change my delta or anything?
Yeah, you got
Tammy,
Well, he only wants to go up a couple meters.
the screen
Okay.
that
Oh.
Chris has up is super cool looking. I don't know if that would
Is
be
that good?
interesting for the feed.
Say when.
Chris, what
That
screen are you looking at?
should be
on the
fine.
KVM.
Okay.
It's CAMAC 2.
CAMAC 2, thanks.
Back
Yeah.
down.
Yep, back down.
Here's all our dirt.
Little confetti.
Somebody's dinner right there. Hi.
Okay, so now you
I
want
don't know.
going
It's a trick
forward.
question. I'm watching the
Do
video.
you want me to be in auto XY?
It really doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
then you can do an abrupt motion to either side.
You basically have 30 minutes.
I think you may not need all that.
Oh,
Yeah, I should need 5.
Yeah, there you go.
what is that?
Kelp.
Helpful?
Kelp.
Kelp.
Kelp, 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 kelp.
Is that enough?
Yep,
abruptness?
that's perfect. Then just go back the other way. Hard over, yep.
Okay.
I think that was like a carcass on the floor.
I think it was a kelp fall. So I think it was sunken kelp blades. When they get kind of
Good.
degraded, they'll
Yep.
sit down and
So let's
a
go
bunch
up
of
to
junk pile on
about
what?
kelp
let's go up to
blades?
about
Oh,
2
yeah.
meters, and then just do 2 lines, just one as far as you can go with your tether, turn around, and then just go back over the same line.
Do you need to be like accurately at 2 meters?
No.
Okay. Our auto altitude's a little bouncy because we're super light to do this.
That might actually be good. So if it's a little bouncy.
Okay.
I'm going to come out down on my delta because we're already kind of
K2, what is the application of this mapping system? What kind of mapping would it be used for in the future?
So, oops, wait, hang on. We have a problem.
That's all I can give you in your tug.
Hold on a second, Bob.
Yep. I need to move back under Argus anyway.
All right, as they're troubleshooting that, get to a couple questions here. Bob, what is your favorite thing about ROVs? Robert?
My favorite thing?
Yeah, I can't hear you. I'm not sure if you're on.
Oh,
Oh, there you go. Yeah, your favorite thing.
Ground faults?
Well, no. Ground faults are the plague of all ROVs and submersibles. I like working on electronics, actually. Yeah, I like to come up with new designs and stuff.
Awesome.
I mean, operationally, I think everybody likes the manipulator.
All right, we are all set, so we can try our little survey line again.
Okay. So by line, do you want to go auto XY and make a step move, or?
You can do auto XY, that's fine, or manually. It doesn't really matter. I just need.
You're not very particular, are you?
I'm really not. No.
Just looking for messy data to try and break his toy.
That's exactly right. Messy is actually kind of good in this case. So.
Okay, going ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, K2. What kind of mapping applications would we use this in the future?
So, yeah, we would use this if we saw something that we wanted to create a site map of. Maybe we saw something in the ship's multi-beam. We wanted to make a much higher resolution map.
Mm-hmm.
So we've done this for geology sites. We've done it for shipwrecks, archaeology sites, that sort of thing.
Awesome. What is a feature on the seafloor you would like to map in the future? I say future a couple more times.
I haven't done a shipwreck with this system, so that would be neat to compare it with what we've done in the past. Nice hard lines and things like that are always a good test of the system. So.
Nice. Several of our viewers commenting how they would like to see a glass octopus, like the one the team at Schmidt Ocean Institute got to see. Super big hat tip to them. If you haven't seen that video, go check out the Falcor team's beautiful encounter there. We'd love to see some octopus here. Would an octopus show up on a map with this system? Is it big enough? How big would an...
No.
I'll change my question. How big would an octopus have to be to show up on this map?
They probably would show up at a certain size, but because they don't have swim bladders, they don't show up very well in the acoustic mapping. So if we're doing optical mapping with cameras or lasers, you'd see them. But with this, they would show up either very small or not at all.
Maybe like just a tiny beak?
Yeah. Normally you see, the system is tuned to see the bathymetry. So it is tuned to ignore things in the water column. So
Perfect. Taylor Ann, why are corals and sponges considered animals? Do you want to give us some sponge coral biology?
I am not a sponge and coral biologist, but animals, so like they have mouth feeding parts. So corals have polyps actually that they use to feed. And then sponges can be like filter feeders. So they don't use things like photosynthesis to make their food. Some people mistake them for plants, but they don't have plant cells. They have animal cells.
Excellent. They grow and they're extremely long-lived. If you are a deep sea coral fan, you are going to love our expeditions out in Papahanaumokuakea a little bit later this season. Spectacular seamounts. Definitely can expect some coral communities out there. All right, Bob, what is the most recent update you have done to the ROVs?
We have 2 new sonars. What else do we have? Oh, we have all new navigation this year. That's right. Which has really been a huge upgrade. Our navigation looks like it's spot on now.
What did that involve changing out?
The whole navigation system, the ultra short baseline navigation system we use. What's this plate thing over here?
Yeah.
I don't
Wow.
know.
We dumped plates when we did the fast
Oh, it's
descent.
big.
This is a big,
It's
yeah,
big.
we dumped that plate. That would be.
We didn't dump that.
I can't see it really. See
What are you?
You have one of your lights off?
Huh. Oh, that's where we sat down. That's not a plate.
Is it your stamp?
That's our footprint.
Oh, cool.
I really think we need to put a Nautilus embossed
like a
logo
snow angel.
on the bottom
Yeah.
of the ROV.
It's a Hercules snow
That
angel,
would be
you're
kind of
right.
cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah, better than a
That's a
pink
good idea,
flamingo.
The Niskins, you mean?
Yeah, that's
Yep.
us.
That's us.
Your logo here.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, that's a pretty good landing.
Yeah, there's not a lot of scooting there. It was gentle. Taylor, did you get a capture of that?
Oh yeah, I've been clicking away.
Awesome.
As we
We
get
will
closer.
totally do
Definitely
something
like a
with
snow
that.
angel.
Viewer who's inquiring about our internships, absolutely. We have paid internships aboard Nautilus, our science and engineering internship program. This is someone interested in the video engineering internship, Ed. They're available
like to
for
get
college students, community
stable?
college, recent graduates,
Yeah.
or graduate students.
Rats.
Those applications will open again in the fall, and the best way to know about those is to subscribe to our education newsletter or just follow us on social media channels. We'll announce when those applications are going to open again, but we will embed you in the team, pay you for your time, travel you to wherever the ship is, and you will have a great experience learning from not only the mentors that you have within your department, but the whole experience aboard, getting to meet all the professionals in the team.
Yeah, we have a great internship program.
Yeah.
Fantastic for young professionals.
And we have internships in ROV engineering, video engineering, ocean science, seafloor mapping, and in partnership with the service academies in the United States, a navigation internship.
Primarily the U.S. Naval Academy and the Coast Guard Academy.
Yes.
Don't have many.
I'd love to expand it to the maritime academies, but
Oh, yeah.
maybe as we expand our tempo to 10 months.
all right, Bob, whenever you're ready, we can turn around and head back the other way.
Yeah. 7:20. Add 10 minutes. Okay.
what are the chances of seeing another whale fall? Not 0, but I don't know what those odds really are. It's a big ocean, but certainly, I mean, we're in the right area. I think as we think about finding that whale fall, you know, it was spectacular and unique, but you can also, you know, put some trends together. We aren't ever in our exploration just aimlessly wandering around. We're using, you know, trends and patterns from the environment. Here, it's trends and patterns in the oxygen concentration. But if you were specifically looking for whale falls, you might want to follow migration patterns, seasonal feeding grounds.
Yeah, you can come up a little bit, Bob. It's
okay.
The California coast is really rich for that. Are you making a dotted line?
And also, yeah, can we rotate turn the vehicle around 180 degrees as well?
Okay.
Yeah.
In fact, I guess that's a little morbid. You're like, what's the chance of seeing a whale fall? And I'm like, I saw a whale a little earlier today.
It's non-zero.
Yeah, non-zero.
Okay, then you can go ahead. You can actually go pretty quickly.
Okay.
Ginny, since this area has such low oxygen, if a whale fell here, what would eat it?
I'm going to reset.
Oh, you'd be
DVL.
surprised.
Yeah.
I think most predators that would be interested
Thank you.
would dart in and out of this
Okay.
water. You know, I think a lot of fish can spend short periods of time in very low oxygen,
gonna go?
anoxic waters. They can't stay there too long. Also, there's plenty of fungi and bacteria that are more than happy to take up residence.
Is that good?
Yep.
And, you know,
just
of
do
course,
one more
different
180 and
types
go
of
back, do
worms
another
that are
zoom over
happy
like
with
that,
that
and
too.
I'm pretty happy.
Okay.
Where does the low oxygen water extend to vertically? Where do you get mixing again?
Oh.
Kind of in the vertical profile.
I guess it depends exactly where you are in this basin, you know, where relative to the high points in the bathymetry, you know, where the sill is. But as soon as you cross that sill, where that sort of bathtub edge, and you start to drop down, you know, under typical conditions, you would notice the oxygen concentration starting to drop a bit. And it drops most steeply toward the bottom and the central part of the basin, near where we are. In a different part of the world, just north of Venezuela, in the Cariaco Basin, that's a basin that is similar in the sense that it's also
Yep, that should be it.
rounded.
Okay.
Its
All
perimeter
right, I
is
think
a sill.
I'm happy.
And in that case, the sill is almost, maybe 70 meters from the surface.
Oh, wow.
So that basin has been permanently anoxic for the last 15,000 years.
Wow.
So it's a wonderful place to study as kind of what we call an end member, so that you know what the community looks like when there's no oxygen permanently. And then you can compare that to what it looks like under, say, an oxygen minimum zone, you know, where the depth of the depleted zone can vary and the intensity can vary depending on the season.
Gotcha.
What's going on.
There was a question we didn't have a chance to get to a little earlier about how climate change is impacting the deep sea and bringing up oxygen minimum zones. Do you want to talk a little bit about
Sure.
what we know?
Certainly climate change is having an effect because when waters warm,
Taylor,
they become more intensely stratified, okay, which means they don't mix. So you get a warm surface layer, which can extend, you know, different depths depending on how warm and currents and winds, you know. And so as waters warm and stratify more, there's less mixing. So the stratification doesn't allow the deeper, colder water to mix. You know, where you have the most intense mixing is on the western boundaries of continents, where you get
so we're just for 10 minutes, we're
upwelling
just
of cold
sitting
water,
tight.
just like off California, off South America.
Yeah.
And
Math.
that's what causes those regions to be some of the most productive fisheries in the world, because cold, nutrient-rich water gets upwelled into the surface where it fuels primary production and
sorry, can you say that again? I had to turn off SPL because I couldn't hear you.
As climate change progresses, the poles are becoming warmer. All right, so there's less of a difference in temperature between the mid-latitudes, around the equator, and the poles. Yep. So it's the temperature differential at our poles, the cold poles.
We want to be at the cores by 7:05
equator area that create our weather and drive our ocean circulation patterns. So if you think about that, if the poles are warming, there's less of an intense gradient. And that affects,
I'm sorry, Taylor Ann, can you
major currents like the Gulf Stream.
What time we want to be?
It affects our weather, causes some places in the world to become wetter, some places to become drier, some places to be warmer, some places to be colder. You know,
Tammy, I don't really. When I'm trying to talk to data, I don't know how to not talk. Yeah, maybe you could help.
There you go. Getting the mics worked out. Another impact of those changes is the changes in the patterns of productivity from that upwelling are you can think about those as like the base of the food pyramid is maybe an interesting way to think about it, that primary productivity fuels larger and larger organisms, not really a food chain, but a food web. And then that productivity is also a really key part of carbon sequestration. So when little planktons and little creatures either die and sink or defecate, poop and sink, and that sinks, that is moving organic material from the shallow waters down to the deep. And if you change the upwelling, change the amount of nutrients available up where the sunlight and the nutrients mix together, you will change how big the bottom of the pyramid is, how big that primary productivity input is. And if you either increase or decrease the amount of primary productivity, you will increase or decrease the amount of marine snow generation, which call it carbon flux to the seafloor, can change how much reaches deeper and deeper in the ocean. So even when we're diving at 4,000 meters, and it seems like, it may seem like it's very separate from the surface, in an ROV dive, if you think about that as, in all this fan, we've spent hours and hours descending to the seafloor and you feel like you're far away, but it's a really connected system. And the food web of the seabed is super impacted by that flux of what's coming down from up above.
And also, if you change the oxygen, and as oxygen levels change, you change the types of microbes that can live in those regions. Yeah. So the microorganisms are the base of the food web in the ocean. And if you change the composition of those communities significantly because, there's less oxygen or because waters are warmer, then that has a chain effect, on the rest of the food web.
All right, K2 is done with his tests. Where are we going next?
We do another PAR test, right?
Yep, I think it's time for our second PAR test.
Raj.
So that's 15-minute PAR. And after that, it will be almost time to motor over to the core site.
Okay. Whenever Bob's ready, I'll kill lights. I can do Argus now.
Annie, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Someone would like to know how long it takes to create a seafloor map. Can you talk us through?
Yeah, it depends on the size of the area that you're trying to map. So usually we travel on this ship at about 8 knots.
Ready? Okay.
But like last season, at the end of the season, we were out for 3 weeks to create a map that was a significant percentage of the mapping that Nautilus did last season, and that took us about 3 weeks. So it's a varied question. It also depends on if you're mapping an area that's shallow or deep, because if you think about, if you're in deeper water, the sound has more area to spread out. And so you can map a larger area versus in shallow water, that sound doesn't get to spread out very far. And so you have to do more lines. And so you have to spend more time basically mowing the lawn. If you think about it, if you mowed the lawn with, I don't know, a paper towel roll versus a toilet paper roll, you'd have to do a lot more swipes with your toilet paper roll than the paper towel roll.
Does the depth of the water change your resolution? Like if you're trying to map something that's at 4,000 meters versus 1,000 meters, does it affect your resolution?
Yeah, your beams spread out more if they have more distance to travel. But a lot of things can also impact your resolution, including where the beams sit underneath the ship, as well as the type of sonar that you're using and the frequency at which you're transmitting the sound.
What frequency do we use?
On this ship?
Yeah.
Jeez, I don't know.
It's not a sub-bottom, is it?
We have a sub-bottom profiler, and that's like tens of kilohertz versus...
Yeah. So it's like a 75.
I don't know, is it an EM302? Or
it's a 302.
It's a 302. That's a better question
The
for
lower
Aaron.
the frequency,
like,
the deeper into the deeper you penetrate, right?
It's like, I can get the answer to this.
Yeah. Because I know you have if you pull it up on one of these screens, it's like a, right? You have a 15 and you have a 3.5. Those are, your 3.5 is probably one of your sub-bottoms. Oh, that's...
Yeah, 3.5 and a 210.
I was looking at it the other day. It's like the Sound Suite software. It's the same as on the Endeavor.
Yeah, it looks like you're
Like
looking at a computer from the early 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all sub-bottom. Those are both sub-bottoms.
3.5 and a 210 kilohertz.
3.5 and 210. Roger.
So on the one cruise that I participated on as a mapper, I'm still learning a lot. We use the sub-bottom the whole time.
Yeah.
But it's more for data collection. That multi-beam data is what we collect and then we process actively and submit products.
Okay. Yeah.
But we do try to collect sub-bottom, I guess, anytime we're mapping.
Do you collect and record it, the sub-bottom, or do you only do it when you see something, you're in an area that you have interest in it? Because those files can be pretty large.
No, I think we collect it.
Yeah, yeah.
If we're doing it over an area that we haven't mapped before, someone might be interested.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't really process it. We just collect it and record it. Viewers joining us, we do know the video is dark. We are collecting a sample using the PAR sensor. We're trying to detect any ambient light around us, so we've shut the lights down. Jenny, this is a perfect tee-up question. Here it is. What kinds of organisms, if any, inhabit anoxic waters?
Oh, that's a great question. There are all sorts of bacteria and fungi and archaea and some microbial eukaryotes, some protozoa, who are perfectly happy living in the absence of oxygen. So they don't use oxygen, they don't breathe oxygen the way we do. They breathe other compounds. They use other compounds as their terminal electron acceptor, such as nitrate or different metals or sulfur compounds. So there's a lot of diversity in anoxic sediments and water columns. So there's different types of microbes that you find living in low oxygen. And you'll see some animals. I don't think that there are any animals that are convincingly known to complete their life cycle in the absence of oxygen, complete absence. But there are animals that can spend periods of time, in different types of worms, and certainly fish can swim in and out of anoxic zones to feed.
Laura, can you turn that down? Oh no, just turn the light itself so it's pointed towards down. Perfect. Thanks.
So that was a great question, though, because I think a lot of people who are unfamiliar with anoxic habitats think that they're dead zones, and they're far from it. So there's still a lot of remineralization of that carbon. So even when all that sinking carbon hits the seafloor and gets buried, even in the absence of oxygen, it's being broken down more slowly, but it's still being broken down by fungi and different types of bacteria and archaea.
This person's really excited to find out that they're underwater fungi.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's, fungi were always just a hassle for me in the lab because, there's fungal spores everywhere in the air, and they're always a concern, that they're contaminating your experiments in the laboratory. So when I was studying ocean samples from all over the place, usually the genetic data that came back that was annotated to fungi, I would just throw it out. I wasn't interested at all, and then realized we're finding fungi everywhere we look, and they're so incredibly diverse. And I've learned a lot from some of my mycologist colleagues, who've really got me interested, got me sort of hooked on the fungi. They're quite beautiful when you grow them on solid media plates, for instance, and we've isolated fungi from hydrothermal vent sediments, from ordinary seafloor sediments, from the lower ocean crust, pretty much everywhere we look. And they can do some really cool things too. They can participate in the breakdown of hydrocarbons, so they can participate in the cleanup of oil spills, and so I'm a new fan of fungi.
Bob, the people want to know, what is a ground fault and why do you love them?
Why do we have them?
No, why do you love them? You got teed up.
I love those.
I can't hear you, but I do want to know what you're saying.
Well, a ground fault is we measure current flow through the seawater to the chassis of the vehicle. And why those are bad is because when you pass the current through the seawater, it causes corrosion. And if you have a connector and it's corroding away, it eventually will flood the housing or whatever it's part of. So we check for those ground faults. And yeah, and they plague us because we have electricity and seawater, and they don't really, I guess they do mix. They mix really well.
I feel like I should knock on wood and find some wood in here to knock on before I ask this question. But like, if there was a massive ground fault, like how quickly are we talking about being able to corrode something?
It depends on the amount of current. So
okay.
Yeah. So in a submarine where you have through-hull fittings, that's like life-threatening, right? Because if one of those through-hull fittings was to corrode away and let seawater into the inside of the submarine, it would be pretty bad.
Toast.
Yeah. We do it for the safety of the equipment. And yeah, where was I going with that? Anyway.
How quickly could it go? Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the amount of current, but we measure things in ohms. We measure ohms rather than current with our ground fault system. So our limit is around 10 kiloohms. So we consider that the start of a bad ground fault. So anything less than that is a bad ground fault. So most of our stuff is up in the mega ohms, millions of ohms.
Thank you. All right, Larry, you're here. You have to introduce yourself. Welcome to the van. There you go.
Still figuring out how to use the headsets in the van. I'm so new.
What is your name and what do you do? And what brings you to Nautilus?
What's your favorite color?
And what's your favorite discovery of Nautilus Live? Well, that was our warm-up question.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what was the first one again?
Your name?
Just who am I?
Yes.
My name's Laura Trethui, and I'm a science writer, and I pretty much exclusively cover the ocean. And I got an amazing opportunity recently to get on board the Nautilus, which is, you know, I've been watching the dives on YouTube from afar for a long time. And I've got to say, I mean, it's incredible to watch it on YouTube, but it's also really incredible to be here. So, and I'm writing a book about ocean mapping that's coming out in 2023. And so I'm here to get a behind-the-scenes look at how we make maps of the seafloor and why they're so cool and important.
We were just saying earlier, one of our education resources on the website is a book of a set of like recommended reading of like books that just kept coming up in the conversation. So we'll have to get your book on the list when it comes out. 2023.
Yeah, you know, I meant to bring a copy of my book and stick it in the library on board. There's a lot of amazing books here on board. Yeah, I think I just might sneak my book in there too. So
sign it.
Do it.
Do a signed copy.
Hey, is K2 still using the Norbit? Or can we
No, I don't think so. I don't know.
We're done orbiting?
He's not here.
You want it off?
Yeah.
Off.
Oh, wait. Oh, too late.
On. You want it back on?
No.
Oh, okay.
All right, Kylie, question for you.
Yeah.
Why are you constantly monitoring the ROV pressure gauges? What are you concerned about with the reservoir pressure? And why don't we measure pressures remotely with transducers?
Bob?
3 questions.
I think that was aimed at you.
Anyone who wants it.
Well, we dive with the reservoir. It's like a compensation system for our anything that's like okay. So when we dive, our systems are compensated with oil, and that will
mineral oil.
Right, that will compress somewhat. So we have like a backup amount to compensate what is protecting all of our electronics. And we keep it at a certain range. It is lower than our certain range, but it's, so that's why I'm monitoring it today more than normal. But we do it hourly just to check to make sure, for example, our high voltage compensation or our craft compensation values on Hercules or our thruster compensation on Argus and our general compensation on Argus are all in good shape. It's good to notice any changes. Perhaps we could have like a small leak that we don't see like on deck. Everything's like okay, but maybe at pressure somewhere we could lose pressure slightly. Like lose our compensation. So it's it would be an indication that we'd have to check like all of our fittings and seals everywhere.
Is there any way to, I guess we are remotely monitoring that, you know, we're sitting here.
Technically, yeah.
Is there a digital gauge?
Or is
Well,
it just
we
not
have
needed?
regular manual gauges on stuff too. We have both. We have a combination of digital gauges and just plain old analog gauges on a lot of the stuff. And the reason for the analog gauges is they work. You know,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
it's a reliable old standby and
Tried and true.
yeah.
We're, as far as my notes are concerned, we are at 15 minutes for the
Tell
parsing.
them to
You want
read to me.
lights?
Sure.
Lights back on.
Answer question.
Just announce it. Yeah. Always love hearing from viewers who are really inspired. Certainly, if you're interested in learning more about fungi, do you say it that way?
Yeah, yeah.
Fungi?
Yeah, it's like tomato.
Oh, is it? Okay, I've always wondered. Feel free to reach
Which
out.
one is right then?
Yeah.
Yeah, feel free to reach out to any of us. You know, if you want to reach out to me at HUI, I'm Ginny Edgecombe.
572.
All right, so you can
Oh,
find me, and I can
don't
point
care
you
about
towards marine mycologists of all sorts of flavors for a graduate degree if you're interested.
Yeah, we always love hearing from folks who are really inspired by this work. I mean, I was watching Nautilus live and got really inspired by everything that was doing, and the team here. A couple of other resources to check out on the Nautilus live page is the team page. There are kind of day in the life descriptions of all the jobs on board, and also videos, short videos, 3 to 5 minutes of kind of following around each of those roles. There's a little BuzzFeed style quiz on the website that if you are curious what role on board might be the best fit for you, is a fun and kind of silly way to get started and see what result you get. And then all the bios. So all of the people in the control van right now are there on the home page. You can check out our bios, a little about how we got to where we are and what advice we'd give to people. But there's also 1,300 members of the Corps of Exploration that have bios on Nautilus Live to check out those different paths.
Okay, so we just did the light, and I think we're going to try to get, I just want to confirm with science because it's going to take us about 23 minutes to transit to the next site.
So, yeah.
But it's not exact, so.
Yeah. So I think if you want to go slowly towards the site, and if we see something interesting, we can zoom in on it. You know, we don't have to race.
Okay. I'm going to make a...
Okay.
Yep, that sounds good.
Trundle that direction.
Pilots, are you ready if I call in a ship move?
Did you say it's going to take like 20 minutes to get there? Or did
Yeah, if we go at about 1 knot, yeah.
Okay, roger.
I'm going to move us in smaller steps, so I'll do 50 meter steps, okay?
Will our time to leave bottom changed by 10 minutes?
We have to
FYI.
So we're going to...
Yep. Science, do you want to...
So yeah, we're going to want to leave the bottom. Since we're taking Niskins at certain depths on the way up, I think Bob estimated that it might add 10 minutes to the trip to do that. So instead of leaving the bottom at 7:30, we'll leave the bottom at 7:20. And we're done with our pars, right?
Yeah.
And so I think if it takes 20 minutes to get over there,
And we got
and maybe 20 minutes for coring,
Yeah.
I think we're good.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope you don't hold me to all those numbers.
Don't worry. Don't worry. What is our bearing?
We just gave you an extra 5 minutes, Bob.
Is it critical that we're on deck at 8?
I guess not.
Well, not.
Like, are we like, we have to meet somebody somewhere?
I got dinner reservation.
Oh, that was a snort.
It was great. It was great.
It's a good one.
Hey, where are we going?
Oh my God.
Sorry,
But he's tired.
197 is the bearing.
Okay. Okay. Coming up.
I told the ship to go I asked the ship to go 0.1 knots.